The house stood on a hill, dark, brooding, a Victorian mansion, neglected and overgrown. Its windows, like vacant eyes, stared out at the town below. A chill ran down Amelia's spine every time she looked at it. She had lived in the small, quiet town of Hollow Creek for only a month. The house on the hill was an ominous presence, a constant reminder of the mysteries the town held. Amelia had purchased the old Victorian house at a bargain price. It was a steal, too good to pass up. Despite its dilapidated state, the house had a certain allure. Its grandeur, though faded, spoke of a time long gone. Amelia was determined to restore it to its former glory. Little did she know she was stepping into a nightmare. Amelia was starting over. After a messy divorce, she left the city, seeking solace in Hollow Creek. The town, with its charming antique shops and friendly locales, seemed like the perfect place to heal. The old house, despite its eerie aura, represented a chance for a new beginning. Amelia, armed with paintbrushes and determination, began her project. The first few days were filled with the sounds of hammering and the smell of fresh paint. The house creaked and groaned, as if awakening from a long slumber. Amelia paid little attention to the noises. She was too busy transforming the old house into her new home. But as the days turned into nights, a sense of unease began to creep in. The first incident happened a week after Amelia moved in. She was awakened in the dead of night by a sound, a soft whisper, coming from the room next door. Her heart pounded in her chest. She listened intently. The sound came again, a sigh, faint and ethereal. Amelia grabbed her phone, the cold metal a comfort in her trembling hand. She dialed 911, her thumb hovering over the call button. Just then, the sound stopped. Silence descended again, heavy and absolute. Amelia slowly got out of bed and walked towards the door. Her hand shook as she reached for the knob. The police found nothing. No forced entry, no signs of an intruder. Amelia tried to shake off the feeling of unease. She told herself it was just the wind or perhaps an animal. But deep down, a seed of doubt had been planted. As the days passed, the strange occurrences continued. Footsteps echoed in the hallway when no one was around. Doors creaked open and slammed shut on their own. Shadows seemed to dance at the edge of her vision. Amelia tried to rationalize these events, but fear had a way of twisting logic. Amelia decided to confide in her neighbour, Mrs. Hawthorne, an elderly woman with piercing blue eyes and a penchant for gossip. Mrs. Hawthorne listened intently, her gaze never leaving Amelia's face. When Amelia finished her story, Mrs. Hawthorne leaned forward, her voice a hushed whisper. "The house," she said, "it has a dark past. People say it's cursed." Amelia wanted to dismiss the old woman's words as superstitious nonsense. But there was something in Mrs. Hawthorne's voice, a chilling certainty that sent shivers down her spine. Mrs. Hawthorne insisted on holding a séance. Amelia was hesitant. She wasn't sure what to believe anymore. That night, in the flickering candlelight of the old house, they attempted to contact the spirits. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. The planchette on the Ouija board moved, slowly at first, then with increasing speed. Letters were spelled out, forming words, then sentences. "Leave this place," the message read, "before it's too late." Amelia's blood ran cold. Driven by a mixture of fear and curiosity, Amelia decided to explore the attic. It was a dusty, cobweb-filled space, filled with forgotten relics of the past. As she dug through the old trunks and boxes, she stumbled upon a hidden compartment. Inside, she found a leather-bound diary. The diary belonged to the former owner of the house, a woman named Elizabeth. As Amelia read through the faded ink, a horrifying story unfolded. Elizabeth had been plagued by the same terrifying occurrences. She wrote of unseen forces, of whispers and shadows, and of a growing sense of dread that consumed her every waking moment. The diary ended abruptly, leaving Amelia with more questions than answers. Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut. Amelia ran to the door and rattled the handle, but it wouldn't budge. She was trapped. Panic welled up inside her, choking her like a thick smoke. She was trapped in the house with whatever evil lurked within its walls. She screamed for help, her voice echoing through the empty attic, but no one could hear her. She was alone. Tears streamed down her face as she sank to the floor, her back against the cold stone wall. She closed her eyes, waiting for the inevitable. A soft chuckle broke the silence. Amelia's eyes flew open. Standing in the doorway was Mrs. Hawthorne, a triumphant smirk on her face. "You should see your face," she cackled, her voice dripping with malice. Amelia's fear turned to confusion. "What is this?" she stammered. "Why are you doing this?" Mrs. Hawthorne's smile widened. "This house," she hissed. "It should have been mine. My family built it, owned it for generations, but your greed, your lust for a bargain, you stole it from me." The old woman took a step closer, her eyes blazing with madness. "But now it's mine again. And you," she added, her voice a guttural growl. "You will be its final victim." The diary, the whispers, the shadows, it had all been a cruel charade orchestrated by Mrs. Hawthorne. Amelia had walked right into her trap.